On this episode of the Denver Bronco Roundup, we got early predictions and not just training camp predictions, early 53-man roster predictions. All that and much more next on the Denver Bronco Roundup.
Welcome in, everyone, to the Denver Bronco Roundup. This is part 3 of our 4-part series, breaking down predictions for this 53-man roster. We'll go over offensive, who we think will make this 53 on the offensive side. But let's go around the horn. And Trevor, how was your weekend? Football's right around the corner. Are you excited? How you feeling going into this training camp?
No, yeah, Jody, doing well. I hope everybody out there is doing well. Hope you and Patrick are doing well. It was a good weekend. Kenny and I just got off our 2.5-hour fantasy football show last night. That was kind of a marathon of like the draft in a way, but had a lot of great interactions, had some new fans coming in. So it's always great to see new fans. Fantasy football is also right around the corner. So looking forward to getting into that more, but looking forward to getting into more Broncos, football talk as well. And as we get closer to training camp, it's going to be interesting. Some questions around this team, but all in all, Bronco fans should be excited. It's a Super Bowl or bust year for the Broncos.
And the Coffee Man, Patrick, how was your week and weekend, and how are you feeling with training camp right around the corner?
I'm obviously very excited training camp-wise. It's like sitting out here because there's not a lot to do on a Sunday afternoon sometimes. So for 7 months a year, so it's kind of nice to have football around, but it's been hot. I'm sure it's hot everywhere, but like we said the other night, but I mean, it's out here. People aren't used to it getting up to about 90 out here. So, they're kind of throwing a little bit. So it's been interesting to walk around and talk about football, and everybody's like, it's so hot. How can you talk about football? But we're getting there.
Yeah.
And I'm
Sorry, go ahead, Jody. No,
I was just going to say. Go ahead.
Yeah, you're good. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I'm the same way. I'm ready for football. This is my favorite time of the year. And this is a different training camp in my opinion. Once we get past the Bo Nix ankle thing, I mean, this is, like Trevor said, this is Super Bowl or bust. Did Denver make the right decisions? Kind of running it back with a lot of the same players, little tweaks, internally, new offensive coordinator, that type of thing, or did they make a mistake not going out and signing some more bigger name free agents? We'll find out pretty quickly. I'm hoping that the Bo Nix ankle thing is put to rest pretty quickly and we can focus on other things. So, but other than that, I'm excited. And like Trevor said, this is Super Bowl or bust for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say it's like 106 here today, Patrick. So I would take 90s. Like 90s would be like a blizzard to me right now. So I'd still probably in the high 90s. So it's when it's hot, it's hot everywhere. And hopefully Jody was able to kind of, living in the same state. Hopefully he was able to avoid the hot temperatures on the other side.
We only got like 99 today. So
only 99.
Only 99.
Oh, hey.
Not too bad.
Nothing.
Slim Broncos 1974 says, how y'all doing? Doing good here. Like we just said, excited for training camp to get here. I mean, it's here this coming week, and excited for that. So, and then Ernie says, go Broncos country, only think big, not 31 teams. Small hello, Jody, Trevor, and Patrick Whiltsie.
And happy birthday to Mr. Ernie Mays as well. We got to wish him happy birthday last night.
And
happy birthday, Ernie.
Thanks for tuning in. Well, let's dive right into it. We're going to start. This show will be offensive side of the football. We'll break down every position group and who we think is going to make the final 53. This is just a early prediction, and we'll kind of circle back around as the final 53 comes out. Let's start at quarterback. I'll let Trevor go first. We got three guys currently here. Bo Nix, who obviously the starter, who we expect big things from this year. And then I think the battle really is Sam Ehlinger and Jarrett Stidham. What do the coaches feel about Jarrett Stidham? Did he leave a sour taste in their mouth after the AFC title game? Did they get what they expected? How do they feel after that? And then how do they feel about Sam Ehlinger? I mean, they kept him around all year. He put a lot of stock in himself, not signing to other 53-man rosters, and it kind of paid off. I mean, they put him on the roster. So, and Sean Payton has come out and said that this is going to be a battle this year, something that he really has not done in the past for quarterback too. So, I guess we'll just go top to bottom. Trevor, how do you feel? I mean, we pretty much both. I am going to say we're all in unison that Bo Nix is the starter here, no question there. And does Denver keep two or three quarterbacks? How do you feel, Trevor?
Yeah.
Oh, and before you answer, chat,
Yeah.
chime in with how you feel. Who do you think Denver's going to keep three quarterbacks, two quarterbacks? If they keep two, which two? If, for example, if it's two, do they cut Stidham? Do they trade Stidham? Do they cut Ehlinger, trade Ehlinger, something like that? Play along with us.
Absolutely.
Go to you first, Trevor.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see, what Sean Payton decides to do. And this is ultimately going to be a Davis Webb, Sean Payton kind of decision. Because I say that because Sean Payton's first year, of course, you had Zach Wilson, and then you had Jarrett Stidham, and you had Bo Nix. Or it's not his first year, second season. He had Bo Nix, Jarrett Stidham, and Zach Wilson. And so he kept three his second season. Last season, it was just the two with Bo Nix and Jarrett Stidham. And then I believe the Russell Wilson year is Russell Wilson, Jarrett Stidham. So it's kind of been a mixed baggage up at this point of what Sean Payton's going to do at quarterback if he decides to keep three. I do wonder, though, with Sam Ehlinger. Again, I'm not the biggest Sam Ehlinger guy, but if you want this guy to stick around, I don't know that he's going to be able to go down to the practice squad without getting claimed or without signing elsewhere. Because like you said, Jody, he had interest around the league multiple times last year, and he decided to stick around in Denver. I think he's going to get an opportunity to win that backup quarterback job. Jarrett Stidham, with his contract, he's very expensive. I think he counts for $8 million on the salary cap right now, going into the final year of his contract. But Jarrett Stidham didn't really prove anything last year in the AFC Championship game when he was asked to step up. And again, not all his fault. I get that, but when you needed Jarrett Stidham the most, he was unable to step up against starters. He was great last year during the preseason. I gave him props for that, but the AFC Championship game was a letdown, was a disappointment. I think it should have been an eye-opener for the Denver Broncos. Like, hey, we need to look at the backup quarterback position, maybe from a wider standpoint, maybe expand outside the organization a little bit and see what's out there. Because if Bo Nix goes down, you need to be able to win football games. You need to have a quarterback that can do that for you. Now, that being said, my opinion to Sean Payton's opinion is totally different because I think he still loves Jarrett Stidham very much so. I would be a little surprised if Jarrett Stidham wasn't on this roster going into next season. But I think that Denver should absolutely be looking at the backup quarterback position and looking for an upgrade. Jarrett Stidham last year on his deal, you could probably trade him. You could be one of those deals where you trade Stidham in the 7th rounder and get a 6th rounder, and if you choose to decide to move off of him. But I would be looking at a quarterback for me. And for me, honestly, before I let Patrick go, I would be looking for a quarterback that's got backup quarterback experience. And I say that like a Teddy Bridgewater, a Carson Wentz, like you mentioned, Jody, a guy that's had starting experience in the NFL and has been around. Jarrett Stidham has been around, but he hasn't seen the field a lot. And I think that's what hurts him, because practice and seeing the field on game days is completely different. And Sam Ehlinger, same thing. He doesn't have a lot of, in-game experience. And so if I'm Denver, I'm looking at that. I'm like, hey, I want a quarterback that's got that in-game experience. And so I'm that's kind of what I'm looking at for an upgrade at quarterback, backup quarterback to backup Bo.
Before I go to Patrick, If you had to guess now, who is quarterback 2, and what do they do ultimately with the odd man out?
Oh, it's a great question. I still think it's Stidham slightly, and I think Ellinger probably sneaks down to the practice squad with the chance to elevate. But I do think it'll be at least a quarterback competition. I don't think Ellinger's been promised anything, but a chance to at least compete. And I think that for him, for a guy like Sam Ellinger, that's all you can ask for.
And to Patrick, how do you feel about this backup quarterback situation? I think we're all in agreement. Bo Nix is the solidified starter here.
Right.
That's an easy one. Do you want Jarrett Stidham as the backup again? Do you want Sam Ellinger? Do you want them to go pick someone up from the outside as cuts come?
I'd like to see Ellinger get a shot. I'm a big believer of like having the heart to play, just to jump in there. You have that chip on your shoulder. And I think, he's got a little bit of a chip that he wants to prove he can do it. And I think he thinks his best shot is here, which is why he stuck around. I just think some new blood would be kind of fun and interesting in there. And he's closest. Nobody's Bo Nix, but he's definitely the closest to that style, so that I don't think the team would have to play differently if he did have to come in. I really think whoever plays the most in preseason, I think that's who's they're leaning towards. I think that's how they're going to go.
Do you guys? Well, question for you guys though. I have. What's the likelihood they keep 3 quarterbacks?
Pretty high. I think they will.
Well, I think they'll do because you can elevate one for game day because you get that emergency. They'll do something like that now.
So who's got the best chance of staying on the practice squad? As soon as we put him on there, somebody's going to yank Stidham, right?
Now the thing is, Stidham isn't going to make. If you decide to try to trade Stidham and you don't get nothing and you cut him, he's not sticking around here on the practice squad. He's going somewhere else because he knows his time's completely done here. So
yeah, I agree.
Who would they grab then? Who would they bring then as a practice squad or a third? Would they bring Wentz like you were thinking, or you want them to think? Or
Wentz is just a name I threw out because I don't know what Minnesota's going to do there. I mean, to be honest, I could really see him, JJ McCarthy, being an odd man out there, really. And just for the simple fact, I don't think Kevin O'Connell is a JJ McCarthy guy, or they wouldn't have brought in Kyler Murray. You don't bring in that kind of quarterback if you're going to go all in with JJ. So that's my opinion. So I don't know what they would do. They would have to, I don't know if that's called Teddy Bridgewater back up. I don't know. I don't know what they would do after that, to be honest.
Yep. Let's get into a couple comments as well. We have Ron coming in here. Good evening, Jody, Trevor, and Patrick. Go Bill Broncos with the 100 stars. Thank you, Michael. Appreciate it as always.
Thank you,
Mr. Michael Ronquillo, one of our top of our DBR Mount Rushmore, you could say. Victor Lap comes in and says, "Yo, fellas, yo, Victor Lap, great to see you." Ron says Broncos made 2 moves today, and then DeAndre Weatherspoon says, "Yo, what's going on?"
Michael, would you put those in the chat? Because I guess I missed those 2 moves.
Yeah, and
and then if you showed up late, Michael, play along. We're picking our 53 on the offense. We're starting on the offensive side this show, starting at quarterback. And then before go ahead.
No, I was going to say I have the moves real quick. And this might impact, actually. This is a good thing I left this guy off the list. But Nick Gargiulo was put on the PUP list, and then Jordan Turner on the NFI.
Non-football injury?
Yeah. So those are the 2 moves today.
I wonder if he got hurt in the nightclub.
So that means that Nick Gargiulo, he's not ready yet from the ACL, which, that happened in preseason in the last game, so maybe coming along a little slower than anticipated. So,
yeah.
And then same question for you, Patrick. What what quarterbacks do you have making the 53? Do you have 2? Do you have 3? Which ones? And the odd man out, do you see them? What do you see them doing with the odd man out?
It's probably going to be Stidham, just from they're paying him to play standpoint. I mean, it is $8 million, and like Trevor said, if he's third, he's not sticking around. He's going to run away. You know, somebody's going to grab him, or he's going to run somewhere else. So I think they keep him just because. I mean, they don't want to waste that money. I think Ellinger's probably the best bet if somebody goes to practice squad, or he's proven he wants to stick around. So I mean, you know, he could, if he makes it through the waivers and whatnot. That isn't it waivers, whatever they call it.
Yeah. Stidham would have to. He might just get released. I think he's a vested veteran now, and he can just get released.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think they would end up trading Stidham. I think they can get enough value for him that they would probably look to move him. Again, attach a pick to him and move him elsewhere. He'd be a backup elsewhere. Like that's the thing with Stidham, is he's got enough value around the league where a team would love to pick him up. I mean, he's had interest for a couple years now. And so I still think
you don't think that game killed that playoff game killed his interest?
I mean, I think it hurt his value a little bit, but I don't think it's enough to where you can't get nothing back. Like last year in the preseason, Patrick, I don't know if you were able to catch some of our episodes, but we ended up talking about, hey, we could probably get like a 4th, 5th round pick for Stidham at one point in time. And so now you attach a 7th, like you could probably get a 6th rounder for him if you attach Stidham in the 7th. So, I mean, it's just like one of those things where it's a George Payton kind of move. He likes to try to get more draft capital and try to move up in the draft if possible. It's just something to look out for if Stidham's like odd man out.
Okay. Well, then to answer Jody's question, probably just the 2. And it's unfortunately Stidham, I think, edges him out just because of money things.
Yeah. For me, I went bold here. I think Sam Ehlinger wins this backup quarterback position, and I think Denver will be able to trade Stidham. I mean, there's not 32 good starters in the NFL, so I mean, if you can get a backup, there are teams that have horrible backup situations, horrible starting situations, let alone backup situations. So you can get something for them that gets like $8 million off the books. Not that it matters this year, but it's going to matter next year, and that's some money you can save, and that's some money that if you need to play around with to trade for somebody or whatever you got to do, or whatever, if you got to sign somebody because of injury or something, it gives you a little more leeway.
Good point.
I do think that if they are going to try to trade Stidham though, and they fill it out, and they are unable to trade him, then that's where I think it might get tricky, where they just try to hold on to him then, because there's no benefit of cutting him, in my opinion. And from all reports, he is very tight with Bo Nix when it comes to the quarterback room and that type of thing. So if you are the belief that they're all in and they shouldn't trade Riley Moss or shouldn't trade Mims or any of these guys, then probably Stidham falls in that same thing. Pay the $8 million and let him do his thing in the quarterback room.
If I'm like, this is where I differ from like what the coaching staff, thinks and probably will think, I should say, with Jared Stidham. We shall see, but I think the door's got to be open more than ever. I mean, that Bo Nix injury should really open this team's eyes. Like, hey, we need to have a legit backup. Like, it's time to get out of that Jared Stidham's a fantasy land a little bit. Like, oh yeah, this is a guy we can trust with the football. I don't trust Jared Stidham right now to be able to win games. And that's why I think you have an open competition, and they need to be more open than ever. There's a veteran that gets released because you never know. Surprise cuts out there. You never know who's going to get cut quarterback and who's going to be available. And so if you're the Broncos, you need to have as much flexibility as possible to be able to pivot to go get yourself a proven veteran that's actually played in games. Stidham and Ehlinger, I mean, these guys I don't think they've even played a handful of games in the NFL, like start in the NFL. And that's just tough to ask for those two guys to back up Bo Nix if he would go down. And again, it's the whole if thing. You're obviously hoping that Bo Nix is healthy, but you need to at least have, confidence in your backup, and I'm sure they do with Stidham because Sean Payton has this fascination with Jared Stidham that I don't understand. But hopefully they're going to be more open to that backup quarterback position and adding a little more to that.
Yeah, I agree with that. So my pick is Bo Nix and Sam Ehlinger backs Bo Nix up, and they ultimately trade Jared Stidham. Sounded like Trevor was leaning towards Jared Stidham ultimately being quarterback too, and the same with Patrick.
Yeah.
We have a couple comments to get to before we continue, Jody.
Yep.
Brandon says, you guys check out Broncos clearance deals on Fanatics today. I did not. I didn't even know there was deals on there right now. So it's great.
Might have to check it out after the show.
Absolutely. Yeah. Corey comes in. Corey's a Seattle Seahawks fan. If Denver can find a true, consistent run game, they will be true contenders this year. Make it easy for Bo. Absolutely, Corey. If they can't get better in the run game, it's going to be, I think, a long season for this team to be able to, have success offensively, because I think the defense will take a little bit of a step back this year. So that means offensively, you really got to, start making strides in the right direction. And then with the additional Waddle, they should be able to, get even better there.
I'll add a couple more. Ernie says he'll take Sam Ehlinger. And last question for me on this: Do you think Bo Nix will lead the NFL in pass attempts again this year? Go to you first, Trevor.
I hope not. I don't think he'll lead it, but I think he'll be top 5 probably. Like he kind of a middle of the pack kind of thing. Or I didn't say middle pack, but like middleman. Like Sean Payton loves the pass, but then you have Davis Webb's like, no, we need to run the ball. Don't need to run the ball in the back of my play sheet. So I think they'll kind of play middle ground between both of them.
And you, Patrick?
I think he's going to be up there too. I don't think he's going to lead it, because hopefully we're enough ahead that we can just, give it to whatever run game we start to build, and run time off the clock that way. But yeah, he's going to be up there. That's just the way the offenses are going to go, and they got to prove that bringing Waddle in was the right call.
Mm-hmm. And I'm the same with Trevor. I hope that it's not this high, but I think he'll be up there again. I think Sean Payton wants to, again, kind of give the middle finger to, this is the 5th quarterback drafted 3 years ago. He's put up the best stats of the top of those 5 so far. He's taken his team pretty much as well. Jaden Daniels made the title game his first year, but he's been the healthiest of all of them. He's done everything with the last quarterback taking that round or that year. So in the first round. So,
yep.
On to running back. I think this is an interesting one. I think we're all in agreement. J.K. Dobbins. He signed a 2-year deal. Denver can get out of it after 1 year. We all think he's the solid starter here. I think he has a lot to prove. He's got to prove that he can stay healthy and play a full season. That is what holds him back from being mentioned in the top 5 running back category, because we've seen it last year. He was like 5th in rushing yards before he went out, and that was with Sutton, leading the NFL, or Nix leading the NFL in pass attempts. So, and then after that, I think it's going to be, there's question marks. You got RJ Harvey, who, although scored a lot of touchdowns last year, a lot of them were short yardage and receiving touchdowns. He was not the greatest running in between the tackles. He still liked to bounce. So where does his game grow? He says he watched the likes of a lot of running backs like Christian McCaffrey, stuff like that. So hopefully that helps out. Derrick Henry. And then you got Jonah Coleman, who I'm very, very high on. He is a great pass blocker. He's proven that in college. And he seems like he's more comfortable running between the tackles. So, and then you got 2 guys who were on your 2 and 3 in the playoffs, in Tyler Bidet and Jaleel McLaughlin, where where do they fit in? We'll go to Trevor first. I think we all agree J.K. Dobbins. And I'll throw Adam Prentice in this as well. I'll throw him in, and we can kind of go back and forth because I think he ties in with tight ends a little bit with one guy there. How many running backs do you see, and what kind of order do you see with this? Go to Trevor first.
I think J.K. Dobbins start the bat off, or start the season off, I should say. But after that, I think R.J. Harvey is probably the lead man. But I think it's going to be competition between R.J. Harvey and Jordan Coleman to be that guy. I think Coleman's fits more the Dobbins kind of archetype. So I think he's going to be a little bit before we see Jordan Coleman again, unless he comes out training camp and preseason, he's just ready to go day one. I think it's going to take a little bit of time. I'm wanting to pump the brakes with Coleman out a little bit because he is a rookie. So I think it'll give him some time to kind of get his feet wet. But the reason I put Tyler Bidet on here is because he plays 60% of his snaps last year on special teams. I think this is a special teams guy to watch out for. Jaleel McLaughlin, 11% of snaps he played last year on special teams. So I give the nod to Tyler Bidet. We know Sean Payton seems like some sort of fascination with Tyler Bidet as well. I'm not a big fan of using him in the passing game, but I think on special teams, Tyler Bidet could be one of these guys. I will say, because I just looked as well, and it's interesting, Sean Payton's first year in Denver, they kept 3 running backs and they kept a fullback. Could see that situation happen again this year, or they keep 4 running backs. Either way, it's going to be like Tyler Bidet, I think, or it's Adam Prentice. Either one of those guys, I think, could make this roster. It's between the two of them. Which one can you sneak through? To the practice squad will be interesting to see. But one thing about it is, again, Tyler Bidet over Jaleel McLaughlin is the special teams, and it sticks out to me more than anything. And again, I think Sean Payton likes Bidet a little bit more than McLaughlin. Don't know for that for sure, of course, and we'll see how it plays out. But I think Bidet just fits this roster better than I think Jaleel McLaughlin would if they keep 4 running backs.
I'll hold your feet to the fire. Pick your running backs and make the 53. If you had to predict today.
Yeah, I think Dobbins, Harvey,
and I'll throw in. You can throw Nate Atkins in because he's kind of listed as that slash fullback. If you're going to keep one, Adam Prentice.
Yeah, I'll say Dobbins, Harvey, Coleman, and then I say Adam Prentice probably over Bidet right now. But that means Nate Atkins is probably off this roster. I don't know why. To me, it doesn't make sense to keep Nate Atkins and Adam Prentice at the same time. Because like you said, Nate Atkins is more that fullback archetype, and I think I would rather take the upside with Dallin Bentley over Nate Atkins, and that's why you see him on this list. But I think Adam Prentice would probably get the nod because I think you can still sneak Bidet through the practice squad. But again, it's one of those touchy situations. Do you want guy on special teams? Where you're at on special teams, and if you need a little bit more, Bidet probably gets the nod. If you're fine on special teams and you feel confident, then Prentice probably makes the roster because you worry about a team possibly poaching him away. But again, it's kind of around the edges kind of thing. We don't know what this coaching staff is thinking, and we won't until after the preseason.
And to you, Patrick, how do you see this kind of shaking out behind J.K. Dobbins?
Well, yeah, like you said, I think Dobbins is their number one just until he proves he can't, whether it's injury or just, he just doesn't have it, and whatever it happens to be. I really think from what I've read and what I've seen in clips you can catch, that I think Coleman is the closest to Dobbins, and you have to change less if you bring him in. And nobody knows what to do with him yet. So I think they might use that as the value of surprise or whatever, the element of surprise in there to throw at people. And Harvey's that third. I think he's kind of third on the outside looking in a little bit. He's the change of pace one, between the tackle's not working. Then they throw him in because I don't know. It seems like he's trying to trick him too much for me. Too many turns, twists, just run. How many times could you just run straight at somebody? Is it, you don't give them the time to react so you can get past them. You can do things. I just don't know if he's big enough for that. And then I think Bidet probably, I think they go with 4. And I think Bidet just Trevor said, for the special teams aspect of it is, Dobbins isn't going to be doing special teams or as little as possible, and Coleman might, but we don't know yet. So, but that's where I would run.
Same question to you. Hold your feet to the fire. List your starting running backs that you think make the 53.
Well, I say, okay, obviously Dobbins. I say Coleman's 2. I think Harvey's 3. And then I think 4 make it, and I think they go with Bidet.
And for me, obviously Dobbins is your starter. He's got a lot to prove this year. I think he's motivated. He's got to finish a full season, and I've said that I think he does this year. I think probably going into the season, RJ Harvey will be listed as our running back 2. But if Dobbins goes down, I don't think that just means RJ Harvey starts. I think that's where you could see Jonah Coleman leapfrog and be your starter. And then Jonah Coleman obviously is making this roster as your running back 3. And those are the 3 running. That's the only 3 I kept on here. I'll just give a little sneak. I did keep Nate Atkins on. He's kind of that fullback / but I think it really comes down to him and Prentice. I think that is going to be something to watch. If Nate Atkins is not getting a lot of snaps or any snaps at fullback, I think that might be a bad sign for him, especially with as crowded as his tight end room is. But I think they start off with 3, and Nate Atkins can kind of do both. That's kind of where I lean.
And I would, and for
ahead.
me, I was just going to say, and for me, I think, again, there's multiple scenarios that this team can do and go in directions they can go, because I think it all depends on the confidence they feel like they can sneak Adam Prentice through, through the practice squad and nobody claims him, because we know fullbacks aren't, some teams don't value them and some teams do. And Sean Payton does, but it's like, does he value Adam Prentice enough to keep him on the 53? Or, is it going to be a situation where, just like they were last year, going to be able to elevate him 3 times, and then you just kind of figure it out later and you kind of push it down the line a little bit. It'll be interesting to see what direction this team goes. It's either 4 running backs for me, or they keep Prentice. Honestly, they've been back and forth. Sean Payton's first year, they kept Michael Burton on the 53 and kept 3 running backs, and then after that was 4 running backs. So it's like, it's give or take. We don't know exactly until these guys step on the field what direction they're going to go.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think ultimately they will keep a fullback, whether it's Nate Atkins and he's listed as a tight end. He can play there, and I think they will. Like you said, they basically have had one since Peyton's been here. Mm-hmm. I'll let you hit the comments, and then I got one question for both of you in the chat.
Yeah, Corey comes in and says, and again, Corey, appreciate you coming in as a Seahawks fan. He says, I'm curious to see how Kenneth Walker does for the Chiefs this year. I think he's a perfect fit for Andy Reid's offense. Yes, I think so as well, Corey. But again, offensive line issues kind of worries me with the Chiefs. They're going to have to score a lot of points because their defense is not very good right now. Not in a very good situation. It's a team that
I'm curious to see what he can do when he is the true number 1 there and he's not splitting carries. And he's probably going to get more carries with Mahomes. He's probably not going to be 100% come week 1. I'm guessing he's going to play, but I don't think he'll be 100%. So how much do they lean on him right away, and can he handle that?
Yeah, I mean, they got Emmett Johnson as well. I mean, I don't think he'll be. Emmett Johnson can be that third down back for them. I don't know that I'm sold that Kenneth Walker is going to be the bell cow per se there, because he wasn't very good in Seattle in that role. And you say, well, he was Super Bowl MVP. Yeah, what he did on the ground, he's explosive on the ground, but in passing downs, Zach Charbonnet came in, and so you kind of probably see that in Kansas City, where Kenneth Walker gets bulk of the carries, yes, but Emmett Johnson on passing downs, he might be that third down back for this team. So we'll see. And of course, says K9 is talented but can't stay healthy and consistent. Yeah, that's something to definitely keep an eye on with K9. They paid him good money, though.
Quick question for you on that. Do you think he got overpaid because of his little playoff run?
Oh, yeah. I mean, he made his money big time during that playoff run. But, again, he was behind a pretty good offensive line, too. and it had a good defense. I mean, he's going to have more pressure on him in Kansas City with where that defense is at right now. I mean, that defense is in a really bad spot, and they did really not much this offseason, but get worse, in my opinion, on defense. So we'll see. Keith says, gents, good to see you. We were so quick to give up on guys. How is RG Harvey any different from Javonte or Estime?
I'll answer. To be honest, he was one of the guys that we talked about in behind the scenes that I think could possibly be on the chopping block if he doesn't, show out in camp, and either Tyler Bidet or Jaleel does. I could see it. I mean, I know he was a second-round pick, Estime a fifth round, but they were quick to move off Estime when they didn't really have a true starter here. So I'm not sure, and I think Coleman is proof that they were not sold on Harvey. That's kind of my take. I think he'll ultimately make the 53, but I wouldn't be totally surprised if it's just a average camp and one of those other guys just ball out, that they say goodbye.
Yeah.
I don't know how you guys feel about that.
Patrick, your thoughts?
Patrick?
No, that's pretty close. I could see that. I could definitely see Harvey being, like you said, somebody like Coleman just starts knocking everybody on their butts as he's running. I mean, I could see that.
I would just be shocked if they give up on Harvey already. I mean, going into year 2, he'll definitely get a shot. The only thing with Estime was a 5th round pick. He was clearly, not going to pan out. I wonder if his work ethic kind of got into Sean Payton's nerves a little bit behind the scenes. I think there was a little bit more behind the scenes with Estime than maybe we believe. But I do think RJ Harvey I fully expect him to get this season. He might even get year 3 to figure it out. He's on that rookie contract, 2nd round pick. Teams don't just give up on 2nd round picks. Something really has to go wrong for teams just to give up on 2nd round picks. And with Javonte, Javonte was going in the final year of his deal. I mean, he was a free agent. He had to go elsewhere. I mean, it clearly wasn't going to work in Denver with Sean Payton. And I think to Sean Payton's credit, I do think he tried to make it work at times, but I don't think the offense was where it's at. I would be interested to see Javonte Williams on this team's offense. That would be interesting because I think Javonte can be a 3-down back and can be healthy. And so, we'll see. I think that you got a good thing going with Javonte in Dallas. I mean, obviously it's panned out real well for him. He got that contract extension with 1,000-yard running back on a veteran minimum last year for Dallas, right? Estimate we haven't seen, a lot of him yet, but, time will tell. Javonte Williams, though, out the door, having the production he has makes you question kind of Sean Payton's scheme when it comes to running the football.
I will add one. I think he's with the Saints now.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I will add one thing on Javonte that I think really hurt him 2 years ago. Denver tried to go to that wide running scheme for about half the season, and then they finally decided this isn't working, and they went back to kind of smash mouth. And I think that really hurt Javonte because they didn't really settle in on anything. It hurt the running game in general, where in Dallas it's straight smash mouth. And, Dallas has an underrated, in my opinion, O-line, and he just fit much better there.
Yep. Yeah, it's true.
And then the last question for me on this topic, does J.K. Dobbins play a full season and maybe not 17 games because he misses 1 or 2, but come playoff time, is J.K. Dobbins available for the Broncos? Does he play, say, 15 or more games? We'll go to you first, Trevor.
I think he plays 14. I think he is available for the playoffs. I think the Broncos hold him back a little bit. There are a couple games towards the end of the season where I do think that they'll hold him back and they'll try to get Jonah Coleman and RJ Harvey some more reps. Of course, again, this is going to be a running back room that's going to see multiple backs used per game, but I think you're going to see this team dial it back with JK as the season goes on because these guys get beat up, and it's the smart thing to do, especially if this team can get out to a winning record right from the get-go and not have to really fight for much. I mean, if you can lock down the AFC West and you have that locked down, towards the later part of the season, what's the point of playing J.K. Dobbins just to run him into the ground? They're not going to do that. I think he'll play 14, and then they'll dial it back a little bit. and he'll be available for the playoffs.
And you, Patrick?
I don't know. He hasn't proven anything to me other than he knows how to look well until he gets hurt, right? And I'm still I don't think he does. I don't think he plays the whole time, and I think that's why, like you said earlier, that Coleman gets a chance to jump in. Somebody, Bidet, some of these other guys get to jump in and show what they can do.
And for me, real quick, I've said for a while now, I think he plays 15 or more games, and he'll be ready for the playoffs. I think his carries will be down because I think, just like Trevor said, they want to save him for the playoffs, and hopefully RJ Harvey takes that next step, and Coleman kind of, fits right in there. So
I hope he proves him
right.
Absolutely.
Before we hit our next topic, we'd like to give our sponsor a little bit of credit here. Pearl, she's just wrapping up at Frontier Days, and I'll let you take it away, Trevor.
Yeah, so we have that Frontier Days expired. Miss Pearl was there in Shine Frontier Days from July 17th to the 25th. But either way, go check out Miss Pearl. I'll put the thing on the screen really quick just to kind of give people an idea where they can go check her out. Let me pull this up.
Yeah, it sounded like she had a pretty good week down there. Frontier Days runs, it's basically like 9 days, weekend to weekend. Concerts, festivals, rodeos. It's a pretty good time down there. So lots of vendors and stuff. So
yeah, and go check out Miss Pearl. She's got a lot of wonderful stuff as well. And again, they stay at Gold, Southwest Pottery. I mean, we've had Miss Pearl for a couple years now. She's an amazing sponsor, amazing person, and just go check out Morgan Trinkets. Again, she was just at Shine Frontier Days, but I'm sure she'll have another big event coming up here pretty soon, and then we'll make sure to put it on the screen and shout Miss Pearl out as soon as we have that information. But thank you to Miss Pearl Morgan Trinkets for being our amazing sponsor and for always supporting our shows. Miss Pearl, we love you, we appreciate you, and we hope you're doing well.
Let's jump right back into it. I think this next room is, for me, was probably the easiest one to pick of everything, is the wide receiver room. I'll just kind of break down real quick. You got Cortland Sutton, who was your leading receiver last year, 1,000 back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. If he's still not your number one, he's 1A. To me, it doesn't really matter, Waddle or Sutton. And then Waddle, your big acquisition. That was your one big acquisition this offseason. Hopefully he can, take this offense to the next level, something they haven't had, a speedster, along with hands, along with elite route running, that type of thing. And then you got Troy Franklin, who was your number 2 wide receiver last year, put up good numbers, but they kind of fell off towards the end of the season last year. Pat Bryant started taking more snaps. Pat Bryant, rookie last year, he was coming on at the end of the season until he kind of got hurt, both playoff games. And you got Marvin Mims, who I'm sure we all would like to see him get more playing time. When he gets the ball, he doesn't drop the ball when they were losing receivers left and right in the Buffalo game. I mean, he was there, consistent, caught the game, go-ahead touchdown, very late. And then 2 other guys, Hakeem Butler, I think he was the UFL MVP this year. So I think he's a wild card. And then Sean Payton's guy, Little Jordan Humphreys, who didn't make the 53 last year. They let him go. Giants picked him up, cut him, and Denver was very quick to snag him back. Caught 1 touchdown against Buffalo, should have been 2. So we'll go to you, Patrick, first. How do you feel about this wide receiver room, and who do you ultimately have making this 53?
I'm very excited to see where these guys go this year. It's just, there's a lot of reason, I think. I mean, Sutton obviously has proven why he's there and why he needs to be there. Waddle, I think, will provide whatever spark, whether it's a decoy here and somebody else gets it. something like. I mean, it could be pretty exciting that way. I mean, I still think Franklin makes it in there. They've given him shot after shot. I think he's starting to come into his own. I think he'll be okay with it. And honestly, I mean, I'd love to see Pat Bryant do it, but I don't know. I still think Hakeem Butler makes a good show and jumps in there somewhere. Whether it's, the extra guy they throw in late in the game, something, he's proven he's got speed too. So I mean, maybe when you're so busy looking everywhere else, he comes in and can, make a play or two, or even if it's just for blocking, or decoy, same thing like they could use with Waddle. So I mean, I'm hyped up. I think this will show the most growth on our offense with the way Davis Webb calls plays, I think.
And you, Trevor, how do you feel about this wide receiver room, and ultimately how many do they carry? And do you see a scenario where a Mims or a Franklin, or I think those would probably be the two guys get traded or something?
Yeah, I mean, and I forgot to put Marvin Mims on here. That's my fault. I promise I didn't just assume he was going to be traded. I do think that I think it could be very likely that Denver does end up moving to one of the wide receivers. I'm not a fan of it because I do think Troy Franklin has upside to him, but I wouldn't be surprised if they pulled a trigger on that maybe. I think it might be easier to move Franklin than it is Marvin Mims. So I think for me, could definitely see Troy Franklin being on the move. He's under contractual control for a couple of years now, so he's a more attractive than I think Marvin Mims when it comes to a wide receiver depth perspective. And I think it all depends on, like, if a guy like Hakeem Butler, like Patrick said, if he really shows out, I think it makes it easier for you to trade a guy like Troy Franklin. Because he's a 6'5", 227-pound wide receiver. That's a big wide receiver. And this is a guy that also plays special teams. And that's why I would put Hakeem Butler over little Jordan Humphrey. I think you kind of know what you have with little Jordan Humphrey right now. And I know that Sean Payton loves little Jordan Humphrey, and I get that. But who's to say you can't, pass him through, to the practice squad, and then elevate him. I mean, he's been around the league for a while now. I don't know that you necessarily need to waste a 53-man roster spot on him. Again, a lot of these 53-man rosters spots are, hey, we're going to keep this guy because if we don't, he's going to, another team's going to poach him away. And this is a guy we can sneak through waivers. So that's part of this whole process is what guys can we sneak through waivers into the practice squad, and what guys can, do we have to hold on to, or they're going to be gone. We're going to lose them completely. Like that's been the situation with Frank Crum for a couple years now. But also with Hakeem Butler, he's again, when he was in the league, and because he was in the league with the Eagles in 2020, 50% of his snaps were on special teams. So for me, that kind of sticks out to where, little Jordan Humphrey may not make this roster, but I'm not going to completely rule out them moving off, Troy Franklin. That was, the Jalen Waddle trade kind of blocked Troy Franklin in a way, because that's kind of really took over. Jalen Waddle is going to take over that Troy Franklin role. So it makes you wonder, like, hey, are they going to move off Troy Franklin now because they have Jalen Waddle, and they're going to get draft capital? It'll be interesting to see. I think they're going to give it time to see what they have at wide receiver before they make that decision. But I wouldn't be surprised if they move one guy. And Troy Franklin don't play special teams, and so that's something that I think is going to hurt him when it comes to keeping him or Marvin Mims.
And I'll hold your feet to the fire again. Who ultimately makes his 53 in the wide receiver room?
My feet are on fire at this point. I have Sutton, Waddle, Bryant. I'm going to say Mims makes this roster, and then I think they keep Franklin. I think they keep Butler. I think they keep Butler over little Jordan Humphrey. They can always circle back at the deadline or even next offseason if they want to move off of Troy Franklin. But something like, if you're the Broncos, you have to keep in mind, like, if you have one guy that goes down, if Waddle goes down for whatever reason, I'm not saying, like, again, nobody wants that to happen, but if that happens, you need depth behind him. Like, you need this wide receiver depth. Pat Bryant, right now, as it seems, he's lined up to take Courtland Sutton's spot in a year from now. We'll see what happens, but it kind of seems like that's the case right now. At least that's where things look to be going towards. Well, Troy Franklin, Again, if something happens, you need that depth. Do you trust Pat Bryant enough to be that depth guy right now? I'm not sure. We haven't seen him enough. And then Hakeem Butler, we don't even know if he's going to make the roster. So I think they end up keeping all these wide receivers, add Hakeem Butler, little Jordan Humphrey to the practice squad, and that's where they go. I mean, they really value their wide receiver depth, and they're not just going to give up Troy Franklin for anything. They would only give up Franklin if it would be like a Devon Bailey kind of deal, like where you're getting a good value back for him. Other than that, they're not going to move any of these wide receivers.
And for me, I'll just keep it short. I pretty much agree with what Trevor said, other than I think little Jordan Humphreys, they keep 6, and he's the 6th wide receiver. Hakeem Butler, they try to put on practice squad. If for no other reason, like he said, if you get a Devon Bailey type offer for Troy Franklin, then you strongly got to consider it. But if Waddle goes down and you've traded Troy Franklin, where's your speed wide receiver? You don't have one now. Pat Bryant, I think he ran the slowest time in the combine last year. Cortland Sutton is not a speedster guy, and Marvin Mims is not really an elite route runner, so he's not an elite speedster. So for me, I wouldn't do it just for that reason. But that would be my 6. But if they do happen to trade one guy, I think it is Troy Franklin, just for the main reason. Marvin Mims is an all-pro punt returner, and plays special teams. Troy Franklin does not.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm on the same thing. I think you want Pat Bryant to take that leap where he can take over for Sutton. If for no other reason, you don't want to be in the same situation as the Bengals paying huge money to 2 wide receivers. You don't want to get in that situation. And that's where it's going to be next year, because Waddle's number goes up big time next year and Sutton's number goes up a little bit next year. So I think that is a serious move you would love to see Pat Bryant take that kind of leap that Troy Franklin did from year 1 to 2 without the drops.
Yeah. While we're still on wide receivers, Ace Boogie comes in here. So he has a deadline deal. And I'm sorry, Patrick, I'm covering you up right now.
No, you're good, man.
He says, trade deadline deal. Broncos receive wide receiver Marvin Harrison Jr. Cardinals receive 2027 second-round pick. Sutton is 30 years old. Your guys' thoughts on that kind of trade?
No, for me, I don't really like it. Keep going with what you have. If Pat Bryant takes that next leap, you don't really need him. In my opinion, you've got. I can be more than content with Waddle, Bryant, Franklin, Mims. I can be content with that. I don't need to give up a second rounder for a wide receiver that really hasn't shown anything for where he was drafted. I think he really wasn't even the best wide receiver coming out. Obviously, that's been Neighbors.
Yeah.
So, I don't really like that trade for Denver.
Patrick, your thoughts?
No, definitely not. I think you kept him for a reason. You're running it back for a reason. You believe in the team, whatnot. I don't think you're running it back just to trade somebody off to try to get better. I don't think that. No.
Well, and then you're also asking, and Ace, I can certainly understand why you're kind of putting that option out there, but because Marvin Harrison Jr. is 23 years old, I mean that feels like he's been in the league longer than that. But like Jody says, like how good is Marvin Harrison Jr.? I haven't seen enough from him. And I know his quarterback play hasn't been great, and he hasn't been in a great situation. But, man, I had worries about Marvin Harrison Jr. when he was coming out of the draft. He wasn't my number 1 wide receiver. I'm not saying that because, I have everything now. I like Malik Neighbors over Marvin Harrison Jr. For me, Malik Neighbors is more aggressive. Marvin Harrison Jr., I mean, he wasn't much of a yak guy in college. And so concerns me a little bit. I think he got a little overhyped during the whole draft process because of his father and that name that he has. But I don't think that Denver's going to be in line for that. They don't just give up premium picks. They just give up one for Waddle. It'd be hard to kind of do that again, back-to-back years, giving up 2 premium picks, for wide receivers when you can just draft one. I mean, if Mims is out the door, just go draft one. Or if you move off from Franklin, go draft one,
Yeah.
And he says, fellas, I respectfully disagree. Marvin Harrison Jr. could gain his swag back with Bo Nix, no decent quarterback in Arizona. I mean, if Sutton's here and Waddle's here, though, I don't know that I see him being able to do that. If you're going to include Sutton in that deal, then possibly. But again, it's like this team likes to spread the ball around. I can certainly understand Marvin Harrison Jr.'s upside for sure, but I mean, again, it's like you kind of have what you have right now, like with Sutton and Waddle, and then Franklin. There's still some upside with him. I mean, this wide receiver, I will ask you this, Ace, is wide receiver this team's biggest need when you still have questions at tight end, you still have questions at running back right now. Like we'll see what if those question marks get answered this year. But I'm not just giving up premium capital for a wide receiver when wide receiver is probably your deepest position right now.
And I'll answer that. You're going to have to get some guys on the cheap if Bo Nix, if he gets a big payday, and you got to look, and I'm going to look on the defensive side first. I mean, I think you have two guys, your Moss and McMillan, and Barron, if you want to count him a starter, and the rookie you drafted this year. Other than that, everyone is under contract. You need to get guys. You need to get guys on rookie deals there, and they're going to have some tough moves. Brandon Jones is going to be one. What you do at linebacker next year, what you do with DJ Jones, you've got moves that you've got to look at. So, yeah, wide receiver for me is way down the list of needs on this team.
But certainly, can respect where Ace is coming from and appreciate the question, Ace. Love the debate as much as always. Feel free to throw any other questions you have out there for us as well. But appreciate you chiming in.
And I'll just put out Victory Lap says Franklin or Mims will be gone after season is over.
Yeah, possible.
I don't know. I mean, I could see both of them here if they decide that they're going to move on from Sutton and they feel Pat Bryant is ready to be wide receiver number 2. Because that gives you Waddle, Bryant, Franklin, Mims. That's your 4. So I'm not 100% sure that either one of them are gone after this year, to be honest.
I just don't know if Marvin Mims, like from a contractual standpoint, if you can afford to keep him. I mean, he'll be in the double digits per season, and you want to pay that for a guy that is a great special teams guy, but hasn't been involved offensively. Also, does Marvin Mims want to even come back? Like that's a question. Like it kind of seems like, and maybe I'm a little jumping out of the ship here by thinking this, but I kind of feel like Marvin Mims, I kind of get the feeling he doesn't really feel like he's really reached his potential here in Denver, right? Like he's a second round pick and hasn't really been utilized in this offense. Maybe he wants to go elsewhere and get a bigger role elsewhere and still get paid. I mean, that's just something to think about. Would Marvin Mims even come back if they kept him? Like,
and you've seen it with John Franklin Myers. Teams are willing to way overpay to get. I mean, I'm not saying John Franklin Myers was average. He was good here, but what he got from what he got paid, I could see something like that with Mims, where Denver just said, "We wish you the best. We can't afford that."
Right.
We got two more groups to break down. Tight end. This is probably was the hardest one for me of all of them, because this room is full of a bunch of first and second year guys, basically. Just kind of go down. You got Evan Ingram, who everyone said was going to be the Joker last year. I don't think that panned out. I don't think he had a horrible season last year, but he did lead, or he was tied for drops on this roster. But he had an okay season. I mean, he was close to 500 yards, 50 receptions, only 1 touchdown. That has to improve this year for sure. Then you have Adam Troutman, who I think is pretty much a lock to make this roster just because he signed that new 2-year deal. I'm not sure what the really infatuation. He's another Sean Payton guy. And whatever you think of Sean Payton, he is loyal to a fault to some guys. And Adam Troutman is one of them. And then after that, you got Nate Atkins, who's been around for a while. I mean, he put up a little bit last year, a couple of years ago as well. I had him making this 53 just because I think he's can fill 2 get two birds with one stone. And then after that, it's a crapshoot. You got Lucas Kroll. You have Caleb Lohner. You have the two rookies, Dallin Bentley and Justin Jolie. Go to you first, Trevor. I'll even include Evan Ingram because there are some people that have said that they could see him being getting cut or trying to trade him. How do you see this room panning out?
Yeah, I mean, I think they'll keep 4 tight ends. Under the Sean Payton era, they've really, that's been something that they've honed in on. Now you can argue, is that Dallin Bentley? Is that Nate Atkins? You can say this is my pick, and I try to kind of spread that around throughout our graphics here, give us each a couple picks here. But I chose Dallin Bentley over Nate Atkins because I like Nate Atkins and I appreciate what he's done in Denver, but at some point in time, you kind of, like Patrick said earlier, you kind of got to get some fresh blood in there. And I think Dallin Bentley can add that to you, or add that to this roster. And, I think Dallin Bentley is a better athlete than some people give him credit for. There's a reason why Denver took him in the 7th round. If they didn't take him in the 7th round, I really, truly believe he probably wouldn't be in Denver right now. If he went undrafted, he's probably going to go elsewhere. Otherwise, they wouldn't take him in the 7th round. And I think Bentley's just a better athlete than Nate Atkins. I think he can be a guy that can contribute, in the passing game if you need him to. But I think he's going to be a prime special teams candidate. And like I just said earlier, Adam Prentice, if Adam Prentice is making this roster, why do you need Nate Atkins? Why are you trying to go older rather than getting younger with Dallin Bentley? We'll see. But I like Dallin Bentley more than Nate Atkins, in my opinion. The rest of them, I mean, Evan Ingram was probably going to be here. I wouldn't completely rule out, if Justin Jolie ends up, flashing, maybe they try to get Jolie involved earlier than expected. But I think Evan Ingram's likely back. Troutman, like you said, with his contract, he'll be here. And then Justin Jolie, I mean, I think he's a big question mark out of everybody. How ready is Justin Jolie to step in day one to be the guy? Or is it going to take him some time to be that pass-catching tight end that you need? Remains to be seen. But I do think, the question for me is Dallin Bentley or Nate Atkins. I give the edge to Dallin Bentley right now.
One other question for you. How hard was it for you to Caleb Lohner off of this roster? Or do you feel that this little injury, it sounds like he's going to be 100% go for training camp, but that really kind of set him back? Because it sounded like OTAs he was really going off. I mean, we've heard that before with Lucas Kroll, so take that for what it's worth.
Yeah, and that's another name to mention off this list too, Lucas Kroll. I mean, talk about a name that you kind of get he's looking good in OTAs. Don't even have pads on. Let's relax. So for me, Caleb Lohner, I think he's a great athlete, but I just think he's really raw still. I mean, I think he's got to spend more time in the classroom, and I think that you're hoping he's a guy that you can, push down to the practice squad, and I think that you can. And so for me, I don't think he's quite ready to be on this 53-man roster. Maybe we see a chance where he gets elevated, during the season, he gets that opportunity, but to start the season, I don't think Caleb Lohner will be on this 53-man roster. Hopefully I'm wrong from a competition standpoint, because I do think he can be an athletic pass-catching tight end, and he gives you the size that you want. But I just think Dallin Bentley's a little bit more refined. Justin Jolie's a little bit more refined than a guy like Caleb Lohner. Caleb Lohner, when they took him last year in the draft, he's really raw, and I still think he is. He's a developmental guy that you can continue to develop, and maybe we see, towards the later part of the season.
And you, Patrick, who do you ultimately have making this 53 out of the tight end room, and how many?
I can see 4 is what I'm kind of leaning towards for the most part. Maybe 5, but Ingram, obviously, because I think they want to prove, and he's got something to prove. I like that chip on your shoulder, like I said before, kind of mentality. So I think he's got something a little bit to prove that, bringing him in wasn't a mistake. Troutman, like you said, 2 years contract. They paid him some good money. I mean, he must be a hell of a blocker. Because he's not showing me anything else on the field that I've seen. And I'd like to see Jolie, maybe Jolie and Bentley rounding it out. Like you said, new blood, just trying to get some different things in there. If they can be average at all aspects, you can develop. I think the pass catching, the blocking, whatever needs to happen. but you need to have a good base in all four. And I mean, everything I've seen on Bentley, he's got that. Jolie just, I don't know, something when you watch him play, there's just something that it seems to be something that it could just explode or it could die off when he gets to the pros. I'm not sure, but I'd really like to see those. Those are the four I'd go with: Ingram, Troutman, Bentley, and Jolie.
And for me, I think Ingram has a bounce back year. I think Denver uses him a little bit different this year. If you dive into some advanced stats and stuff, he would get off the line and get separation wide away, but they wouldn't get him the ball with him moving. There was a lot of comebacks and different things where it gave linebackers, cornerbacks, whatever, time to catch back up. And we've seen, and I just used the Commanders game as an example, when they get the ball, when he's moving, I mean, he still had elite speed for a tight end. So I think they'll try to get him more involved. Adam Troutman's here because of the contract. He's probably your tight end too. And then I had Justin Jolie and Down Bentley making it. And then I also had Nate Atkins, but that's really a coin flip for me, Nate Atkins or Adam Prentice at that. So if they keep Nate Atkins, I have 5.
Okay.
So that's where I see that. And then our last position group, offensive line. This is a position group that these starters, I think this is their 4th year together, going into their 4th season together now. This is a very seasoned O-line. Denver made it very clear right away that they were going to keep Ben Powers. They were going to pay the money up front. They were not going to rework the deal. They were going to do nothing. He was going to be here. You've got an all-pro left tackle, Ben Garrett Bowles, who, if not the best left tackle in football, he's probably, in my opinion, top 2 or 3. Ben Powers, just a steady guy. He was somebody I thought maybe they could move on from this offseason, but the Alex Pachesky thing kind of just, it started off all right, but it just kind of petered out towards the end, and they were quick to bring him back. Then you got Luke Wattenberg, who they just signed to a big deal, so he's going to be here for a while. You got another all-pro in Quinn Miners, who he may be the best right guard in football. And then Mike McGlinchey, who he's probably, in my opinion, probably a top 10 right tackle. He's obviously not the best right tackle, but you could do a lot worse. So I love this starting 5 that's, if not the best, it's probably top 2 or 3 in the NFL. And then we can dive into who you guys think make it after that. How about we'll go to you first, Trevor. How do you see this panning out after our starters? Because I think the starters are more our production Sharpie, who's starting on this whole line.
Yeah, I mean, the only question I really have would be Alex Forsyth. I mean, he's going to the final year of his contract. You wonder if they're gonna, a guy like Nick Gargiulo would push for that. I know that him laying on the pup was kind of really stings for him, but I think that would be the competition for me to watch right there on that offensive line. I think everybody else is pretty set in stone. Where's Frank Crumb's development? That'll be very interesting to see. Matt Pert, we have him right now. This is our, and again, I apologize for the title. This is our projected 53-man roster offensive line going into next year, the starters and depth. We have Matt Pert, though, that not making this 53-man roster anyway. And so it'd be interesting. I think Pelcheski's more of a tackle. And I think you have Cage Casey that's a guard. You already know what you're going to get with Crum. He's a tackle. So, and then with Pelcheski, he can move inside too. I mean, he's very versatile, I think. He's not the greatest inside, but it's more of a tackle, but he can certainly move inside. So, I mean, I think Forsyth probably gets a nod right now with Gargiulo being out on the PUP list. But, I mean, does Calvin Throckmorton or Matt Pert, do they – either one of those guys ever, how much do they make a push onto this roster? It'd be interesting to see. But yeah, for Forsythe's the guy that I'm watching, who he's kind of on the bubble for me, whether he's on this roster or not.
And you, Patrick, how do you see this O-line backup-wise shaking out?
Backup, definitely. Yeah, I think that's where we're looking at. I mean, I honestly, I think you've said it before, and I agreed with it then. Whoever plays can get center snaps. Whoever can fill in at center snaps, because that's going to be the prime. That's the quarterback of the offensive line, basically, right? I mean, they're the ones moving guys around, switching things up, other than the quarterback, right? So, I mean, I honestly think it's between, I think, Wattenberg and Forsythe, whoever gets the most, and if Forsythe can prove it, then that leaves Gargiulo off on the outside, I guess. I mean, I would like to see Throckmorton get there just because I think that's a fun name to try to have everybody say during the season. Some of those guys trying to hurry up and say things fast. I think that'd be kind of fun to mess them up. But, I mean, that's not a good reason to keep somebody. Obviously, he needs to prove he can play. But yeah, I mean, I don't see Pert. I'd love to see Crum stay, but I just don't. I don't know. Something just doesn't. The eye test for me just doesn't seem to show with him. So.
And for me, I think they've invested a lot in Frank Crum. They've from the time Pacheski moved inside to fill in for Ben Powers, he took over as that sixth offensive lineman and didn't relinquish it even after Ben Powers came back. He's more athletic than you think. I mean, he scored a touchdown in the Buffalo game.
True.
So I think they've invested a lot in him. I think he's obviously making it. With the news today of Nick Gargiulo starting on PUP, that's probably a good thing for Forsythe, because I think it was going to be a battle between those two making this final. I have 9 making it, but making the final of the 9. The only other thing that I think they're both obviously going to make it, but if one of these interior guys go down, are they ready just to throw Cage Casey in there, who did play left tackle last year at Boise? So, I mean, they've moved him inside and he's going to transition to guard. But do they roll with him right away, or do they go back to Alex Pacheski again? That is going to be one interesting thing. And then Matt Parrott, I think, would be a wild card for me. When Ben Powers did go down, he was the first guy up. He was over Alex Pacheski. And I know it was kind of more of a right-hand side, but he did get the call over Pacheski. Now that he's 100% healthy, what do they do there with him? Can they trade him? Because I think he's been around long enough. If they release him, he can go wherever he wants. He doesn't have to clear waivers or any of that. Mm-hmm. So that for me, I just think Nick Gargiulo being on PUP is that's probably a bummer if you were on the side of him making this 53, just because he's going to have to transition a little bit and show that he can snap the ball, and he was going to have to get snaps in game. And if he misses a couple weeks or whatever, that's probably not a good sign for him.
And it'll be interesting to see what they do with Nick Gargiulo, because, again, with the PUP list, they can activate him at any point in time. Once he's cleared, I mean, they can activate him. So, I mean, maybe they're waiting a couple weeks to do so, and then he does. He is out of competition for Forsythe. And I think if he didn't get hurt last year, I think he might have made this roster over Forsythe. And so that's the thing to watch out for, is Gargiulo and Forsythe. That's the biggest competition for me. Who could make this roster, could not. Depends on what they think of Cage Casey and some of these other guys, and obviously Pelcheski. And then, like with Frank Crum, where's he at in his development? Frank Crum's not making progress. Is it worth keeping him over Pert? And we'll see. They've invested enough in Crum, so I would think so. But I think there's only a few question marks in this offensive line. I don't think it's really a lot. I like the long-term development of Cage Casey, getting a guy in the pipeline down the road to take over.
Yep, I agree with that. I think this is the most solid unit, probably the unit that's been together the longest. And I think this, as the O-line goes, so does this offense.
Yeah.
got a rapid fire question for you guys. On offense, who is one wild card guy that you could see just out if we're unable to trade him or something outright getting released? We'll go to you first, Patrick.
I don't remember what I was saying earlier. The more I've been thinking about it here as we're talking today, this afternoon, I mean, I'm thinking more Harvey. I honestly think Harvey could be outside looking in. Just the style that he that needs to be run for him to run. I don't think it works.
And you, Trevor?
That's a great question. It needs to be a veteran.
Whoever that we kind of have penciled in or think should make this 53, that you would kind of open your eyes a little bit to, like, wow, I didn't see that one coming. Kind of like I don't know how you guys felt last year, but kind of like an Audric Estimate that you were like, wow, I didn't really see that coming with how bad our running back room was. And
I'd be surprised if Jaleel McLaughlin's back. I'll say that. I think his time in Denver's done. I think he's probably elsewhere. I mean, they brought him back, but it was mainly depth and competition. Like, I think you kind of know what you're getting out of McLaughlin. Plus, special teams is a big thing, and he just doesn't play it, and doesn't do it very much. That's why I think Bidet would make this roster over McLaughlin. And I think once you release him, I think he goes elsewhere. I don't think he's going to stay on the practice squad. So that's one of those, like, I think that's where they would go. I think McLaughlin's probably out right now.
For me, and I think he's going to have a big season here, so I don't think it's going to happen. But if, like we said, if a Justin Jolie or Down Bentley or somebody really balls out in training camp, I could see them moving on from Evan Ingram. He would be the one guy. He's a one-dimensional tight end, so he doesn't give you the blocking part where you could say, okay, he's not like an Adam Troutman. He doesn't do anything in the receiving game, but we can count on the blocking. He doesn't give you that. So if it's just not there and Justin Jolie is, balling out and Down Bentley is balling out, I could see Evan Ingram being that guy. I don't think that'll happen.
Trade him? Do they trade him, or do they just
I think they always will try to trade him, but he's probably one guy, especially with the amount of money he's making this year. I think they would just eventually just release him.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
So that brings it into our offensive side of the 53. Good topics, good debate. Doesn't really sound like they're in between the three of us that there are some battles here, but I think a lot of this is sewn up. And you get this when it's basically run it back like Denver did. Brought in a few guys for competition, but this was we felt we were there. If Bo Nix was healthy, we may have went all the way last year.
Right. Now, if this running back doesn't work, do you see him blowing it up and shooting, or do you just pick apart things, or if this doesn't work, the running back doesn't work?
If this running back room, say after about 6 games, is just straight garbage and Dobbins has gotten hurt, that is where I can see a Mims or a Franklin or somebody, and you can go trade and you say, I'm giving you we need a running back here. That is something I can see. I don't think that's going to happen, but if it just completely falls apart, that is where you have some assets that you can go get somebody that could probably stabilize this room a little bit. How about you, Trevor?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think you definitely need this offense will only go as far as I think their running game will go. Like, again, I think Bo Nix is going to be a big part of that, but he can't be carrying this offense this year. They need to have an established running game and be able to win games in multiple ways. You can't just rely upon your quarterback to win games. I know that's the most important position in football, but you've got to be able to have a good running game and a running game that opposing teams respect. It didn't seem like after J.K. Dobbins went down that you had a lot of opposing defenses respecting the Broncos run game enough. And so I think that was one of the biggest things that hurt them in the AFC Championship game against New England is their inability to run the football. Because then you were one-dimensional on offense, and it was basically you had to rely upon Jared Stidham to dig you out of a hole, and it didn't work. And it didn't work from multiple ways. I think it should open our eyes to what Bo Nix can do and what he's done. I mean, how much he's done for this team overall. So, got to get an established running game and a running game that opposing defenses can respect. That's one of my biggest keys to this offense this year.
And I'll agree with that. I think it's probably the most important. If no other group takes big leaps, I think the running back room has to take that big leap, or at least be on the same trajectory with a healthy Dobbins as it was last year, or you're going to probably be in trouble.
Yeah.
With that said, that brings it into this show. Let's get everyone's final thoughts. First, you, Patrick, what are your final thoughts? What are you looking forward to as training camp starts up at the end of the week?
Really, honestly, I'm looking forward to. I'm hoping, like I said, some of these young men, jump in and show the new blood. Show that justify their picks. Why we picked them, why we brought them in. Honestly, that's more what I'm looking forward to. I mean, we know with the veterans, we know what to expect with a lot of them. So I'd really like to see some of these younger guys come in and prove, they can play, they can go. That's why I like preseason so much, is because it's all those guys trying to prove why they should get a spot, why they should make a roster, and I think it's more heart. It's more fun for me.
And I'll throw you rapid fire real quick. Who is one guy of the new guys coming in that you, besides Waddle, that you are really excited to see how they do?
I'd have to lean defense. I want to see Red Murdoch just knock everybody on their cans. I just think that would be absolutely fun. Bring some fun back to that position. Bring some we got to watch for this guy. Somebody to plan around. Just because he's got the chip, Mr. Irrelevant. He's got the chip on his shoulder. I think that'd be a fun storyline.
And final thoughts from you, Trevor?
Yeah, final thoughts from me. Great show. Love breaking down the 53-man roster. I think that there's going to be a lot of interesting battles out there for sure. And we'll get some of those questions answered throughout training camp and throughout the preseason. Getting pads finally on. I mean, it's truly football season now. Veterans starting to report. Got rookies there already. Football season's here and looking forward to the ride. And the journey starts now. I mean, we've talked about it all offseason, what this team can be. Now it's time to figure it out what they are. And so looking forward to that. Looking forward to a entertaining preseason and more storylines and making it a little bit easier for us as well.
And same question to you. Who's the one guy that you are most excited to see of the newcomers on this roster this year?
Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, I'm not going to shortcut it. Probably Waddle, because I do think he.
If you take Waddle out, because I did the same to Patrick. Because
okay.
I mean, we're all excited to see Waddle, and
Yep.
I think we're excited to see that. So
it's hard to do that when this team's made 3 offseason moves in the draft. So, that's a good one. I would say Jonah Coleman. I think Jonah Coleman's going to be able to add something to this backfield. I think Dobbins should be able to stay healthy for most of the season. He's got something to prove. He's got a chip on his back, I'm telling you. But I do think Jonah Coleman is probably the right kind of archetype to come in and play if J.K. Dobbins is not healthy. And he does give you another body that you can trust in the backfield if you don't have J.K. Dobbins. So I'm going to say Jonah Coleman because I think it's hard to really expect anybody else to make a big impact on this team this year. Other than Coleman and Waddle probably being the top of the list of guys that make the biggest impact this year.
Before I give my final thoughts, Pearl chimed in. Don't want to leave her out. She said, "Hi, y'all," and then she said, "Patrick, your coffee got me this 9 days of 12-hour days selling at Cheyenne."
Excellent.
Looks like it got her through it. So glad to see Miss Pearl chime in, and sounds like everything went good at Frontier Day. So glad to hear. Michael Ronquillo, 100 stars. Thanks to him. And he said, great show, great show tonight. Jody, Trevor, Patrick, go Broncos. And his pick was Jonah Coleman as well. And my final thoughts on football's back. I'm excited. College football, NFL. I'm kind of one of those that I'd probably go watch a random football game in the middle of the week. I'm a football guy, so but I'm excited. Denver is all in this year. They, in my opinion, have made great moves this offseason. Didn't agree with everything, but I'm happy with where everything was and where they're at. And the one guy I'm most interested to see, I'm kind of going to go off the board. It's not a player. It's Davis Webb. What does this offense look like? Are we taking more shots down the field? Are we getting tight ends more involved? Are we more balanced? And I don't know how much you'll be able to tell just in practice, but is Sean Payton right over him micromanaging, and will we see any sort of blow up if something doesn't go smooth right away? Or does he trial by error? How does this go? That to me is probably the most interesting thing for me, what I want to see.
Absolutely.
And Pearl said record year, so congrats on that. We're glad to hear that. And with that being said, we'll get out of here. See you. I'll pull up a couple other shows. Trevor, what's your guys' show for Tuesday?
Yeah, we have the Juice Football Talk Show Tuesday, 8 p.m. Mountain Time, 10 p.m. Eastern Time. You can catch me, Kenny Kirkpatrick, and Glenn Ashley. And then you guys will be back on Wednesday, 8 p.m. Mountain Time, 10 p.m. Eastern Time. And then we turn back around. This week, I know this weekend we had a little bit of a scheduling switch up with DBR and the Fantasy Football Show. But we'll be back, should be back on the same schedule again. DBR will be back next Saturday, 8 p.m. Mountain Time, 10 p.m. Eastern Time. We have our Fantasy Football Show that's getting popular now as well. The Pick is in Fantasy Football Show. You can catch that Sunday, 8 p.m. Mountain Time, 10 p.m. Eastern Time. And so hopefully, again, like, share, and subscribe. Get us to more football fans just like you out there. And looking forward to adding to the posse this coming up season as well.
Hell yeah.
And with that being said, Wednesday we'll break down the defensive side and kind of finalize our 53 going into training camp. Then if any news breaks up until the start of training camp, we'll let you know that as well. And with that being said, we'll get out of here. Thank you guys for joining in. And Trevor and Kenny, we'll see you guys Tuesday on the Juice. Thank you guys, and go Broncos.